Hey kiddos, we're going to be doing our circle review. We're going to start with our tangent, secant, and chord theorems. This is just a little review for you. You have to remember first to do these, what a secant, tangent, and a chord is. Well, a secant, remember, goes all the way through the circle. A tangent touches a circle at one point, and a chord just goes from one side of the circle to the other. Now looking at this would be a secant tangent, because the tangent only hits at one point, this line only hits at one point right here, and this is a whole secant. Now we know what kind of lines these are. We look at the formula, which should be on your front page. It's the secant tangent theorem. And the secant tangent theorem tells us this. We have to multiply the whole line, this whole line right here, the whole secant, which would be 9 plus x. We're going to multiply that with just the outside, which is right here, so the 9. So we're going to multiply those together. And what that's going to equal is the tangent, which is this line, squared. Okay? That's how you set it up. Once you have it all set up, you just solve from this point forward. So we're going to start by distributing, which gives us 81 plus 9x equals 225. From here, we subtract 81 from both sides. We subtract 81 from both sides. Cut that. This goes away. We get 9x is equal to 144. Divide by 9, and boom, you get 16. That's right. Well done. Okay, so that's the answer to the first one. The second one is the secant, because look, that's a line. That's a secant line, and this is also a secant line, not a tangent, because it goes through two places. The secant theorem goes like this. You have to, you do the whole thing, so this whole part right here, the whole guy, so that's 5 plus 3, all right, times just the outside, all right, so the outside part is right here, so that would be times 3, all right, and this is going to be equal to the whole other secant, which is right here, so that would be x plus 4, times that by, what's it called, the outside, which is right here. So this is times 4. This is just algebra from here, so you guys can figure it out, but I'll just tell you, just distribute this. Oh, sorry, you add this, you just get 8 times 3 equals, distribute this, 4x plus 16, and 24 equals 4x plus 16, and I'll let you solve from here. That's all you. Okay, let's go on to the next problem. These guys are the sum of central angles. If you remember, all you have to remember is that all three of these angles will add up to 360. So if you know that, you just have to set up your equation. So you know these all add up to 360. All right? You just set it up as 155, okay, plus 125 plus x equals 360. We solve by combining like terms. We got 155 over here, 125. We add those together. We get 280 plus x equals 360. Subtract your 280 from both sides, and you get x is equal to 80. And that's it. Just set your equations up, and you should be fine. Now, I just want to make a quick note here. If you remember what these little lines mean when you go down to this question, these lines mean that these two are congruent. So you always have to fill in the missing information. So here it's missing, so we're going to put 35 degrees in here. So don't forget that when you do this problem. Let's keep going. Over here, we want to find, this is our arc measures lesson, okay? Now for the first one, we want to find the measure of arc STP. So the first thing to do before even starting this question is to fill in all the angles you don't know. So we know this is 72, we know this is 75. This one we know is 90 because it has that little marking right there. Well, how are we going to find out the rest of these? Well, first thing to do is look for semicircles. This is a semicircle right here, which means half a circle. If I want to find the other one, if I know a semicircle, is 180 degrees. We know that. So if I want to find the other angle in this, all I have to do is 180 minus 90 equals 90 degrees. So I just figured out this guy. This is 90 degrees, and this is 90 degrees. Now to find out this one, I could do it the same way again, except on the other side. So these three have to add up to 180. So I'm going to do it the same way. 180 minus 72 minus 75 gives me, that's 147, 33 degrees. So I know this missing angle right here is 33 degrees. Once you've done that, you could start your questions, okay? Because you have to know the missing ones to be able to answer most of these. So what we're looking for is S, T, P. You always go along the arc because it's an arc. Now, what we have to do is find this arc is just look at the central angles, because we remember the central angles equal the arc measures. So this arc is equal to 72 degrees because they're congruent, and this arc is 75 degrees. So to find the total arc, I would just add 72 plus 75 degrees, and that gives me 147. Now I know you're thinking, well, I didn't use all that stuff. Well, guess what? You're welcome, because those are all the same for the next two down. All right, and it might come in handy. Moving along. Arc lengths. Step one, put in your formula. All right, your formula is the arc length is equal to m over 360 times 2 times pi times r. Okay? Now, all you have to do is plug into your formulas to get these right. Now, are we giving you the formula test? No, so you have to have it memorized. First step, write down your formula. Arc length equals m over 360 times 2 times pi times r. All right? Now we just have to plug in information. 12 over here, inches, is our radius because that's a length. 30 degrees is our degree. As our angle measure, because it's a degree. Now we just plug it in, so we got arc length equals 30 over 360 times 2 times pi times 12. Now, I'm not sure if you remember this, but when we did these earlier, what you'd have to do is just take your calculator and multiply the numbers together. So multiply 30 over 360 times 2 times 12. All right? Just put it in the calculator. When you do that correctly, you should get the arc length equals 2. And then the pi we don't multiply by 3.14. We're just going to leave it in terms of pi, and so we'll just call it 2 pi. All right? When you do these, please leave it just as 2 pi. All right? Now that is how we find the arc length. The next one is how we find the area of the sector. So this is different. We're actually finding not the length of the arc. We just did that. All right? We're actually just trying to find out this area inside the circle. Let's start off with the formula. The formula is to find the area, to find the area of a sector, we do m over 360 times pi r squared. Okay? That's our formula. So going down here, we're going to rewrite our formula. The area of a sector equals m over 360 times pi r squared. Well, this is pretty much the same question, so we could just plug in our information. So the area of the sector is going to be 30 over 360 times pi times 12 squared. All right? We just put in the calculator, once again, the same way. We're just going to take our numbers and put it in. So we're going to put this in. I'm going to put this guy in, 30 over 360, and 12 squared into our calculator. And when we do that, we just get 12. And we take the pi, and we bring that down. So it's just 12 pi is our total area. That's the area of that sector. All right, moving along, we're reaching the end. First thing you do, please write these formulas in, okay? You got to find them yourself. They're in your notes. I know you can do it. Let's take a look at just a few of these, okay? For these two, let's take a look. This formula, when you have two chords, is this. It's to find the angle. It's the measure of arc 1, okay? So we're at the measure of arc 1 plus the measure of arc 2 divided by 2. Always write this formula down first. Our two arcs are 71 and 129, okay? And our angle is x. So we're just going to plug everything in. So we do x equals 129 plus 71 all over 2. We do a little math. We get this plus this. So 129 plus 71 is 200 divided by 2. And that means x is going to be equal to 100 degrees. Just like that. So we fill this in for this. That's 100 degrees. And since these are vertical angles, I know they didn't ask for it, but we could also say this is 100 degrees. This guy, right here. For this formula, you just have to look it up. And the formula for this, when the angle touches the center, touches the outside of the circle, okay, whenever the angle, the vertex, is on the outside of the circle, it's just the angle equals the arc divided by 2. We plug in, the angle is going to be equal to 200 divided by 2, and oh, the angle is equal to 100 again, or x. So once again, our angle is equal to 100. That's crazy how it worked out that way, but it did. Looking at these, once again, you just have to memorize your formulas, okay? For this one, the angle is equal to arc 1, okay? The measure of arc 1 plus the measure of arc 2, okay? Oh, sorry, that's minus. That's a minus sign all over 2. Now, we always plug this in. Now, remember, for arc 1, it's always the bigger one. Don't forget that. So, our angle, that's this angle right here, is 46 degrees, all right? Our arc 1, which is the bigger one, is 134 degrees. And our smaller arc over here is x. So minus x over 2. How do we get rid of that 2? That's right, we multiply both sides by 2. 2. These cancel each other out. We just have to do 2 times 46, which is 92, equals 134 minus x. Oh. What? All right, so now what you got to do is subtract 134 from both sides. When you subtract 134, what you should end up with is 42, but negative. I know if you put the calculator, you get a negative. But guess what? Since on the other side, you have to bring down the whole negative x, you also have negative x on both sides. So when you have a negative on both sides, what you could do is just change both sides. So they both become positive, so your answer is x equals 42. Okay. Last one. Now, this one's asking you to draw these equations, okay? You got to be drawing them. How do you do that? Well, all you have to do is find the center. So we know the center here is 1. Remember, we just changed the sign, and negative 3. First thing you do, find the center. So the center is going to be 1, negative 3. All right? Next thing you have to do is find the radius. Now remember, what we do is take the square root of 4 to find the actual radius, which gives us 2. So what you're going to do is go up 2, down 2, right 2, and left 2 from your center, okay? Once you've done that, you just go around and you've got your circle. All right, you try the other one. Now one last question. We want to write the equation with circle O with center 2, negative 8, and a radius of 9. Hopefully we have this down by now, but if you don't, just start setting your stuff up like that. Okay? Now we just got to fill it in. So it's going to be x minus 2, because we changed the sign, y plus 8, because we changed the sign of this, equals 9 squared, which is 81, and that is your equation. Good luck. Remember, guys, my last piece of advice to you is this. Don't kick cats. It's illegal.